Hello and welcome to Web of Light with Dr. Kevin and
Angie Danjou.
she's pronouncing it wrong again.
Oh, please.
It's D'Anjou. And we want to welcome you to our 4th of July special. If you notice, red, white, and blue. Hey, you know what? I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy. Born on the 4th of July. This is how it rolls.
That's right.
If we get through this whole show without me singing and dancing a little bit, it will be a miracle. Just so you know. Nobody celebrates their birthday like I do.
You've got that right.
But today, we are going to be doing lots of exciting things, looking at the nation's birthday, the upcoming stuff for July, for the year, for all of the political the political stuff going on. But we're going to start with our quote. And Angie, this week the quote is yours.
Oh, yes.
Let her rip, honey.
I decided I'd be a really loose, easy quote. So today's words of wisdom comes from a lyric by the great composer Chris Christopherson. And in 1971, he had a release of Me and Bobby McGee, which was sung by Janis Joplin. And part of that, the lyrics that I'm going to use as a quote is, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose, and nothing ain't worth nothing if it ain't free. If you look at this lyric and give some thought to it, it reminds us of the fact that we give up a lot of freedom when we take on the responsibility of a middle-class life. So we become slaves to our commitments and to the cost of losing what we've taken years to build up. However, if we stopped our worry and allowed our lives to unfold through the use of freedom, there would be much more to gain from the joy of our journeys. And so I kind of thought I'd bring that out because 4th of July is all about freedom. Freedom.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to avoid singing. Well, and it's very interesting because, you see a lot of this freedom, like freedom isn't free. There's a cost to freedom. And there's a cost to everything. We do choose. We could get into a very mind-bending, migraine-creating conversation about multi-purposed universes happening simultaneously, where every choice you ever made is happening in an alternative universe, but we're not going to go there. In this moment, in this reality, when you choose to do A, you choose not to do B. When you choose to create golden handcuffs, then you create to have to work to support the golden handcuffs. If you choose not to do the golden handcuffs, there are other things that you give up. And I have now, in my 30s, I spent 2.5 years on the road full time. No place to live, few things in storage, completely trusting that Spirit would guide me. And some people are like, what are you, crazy? This is the time of your life where you're building stuff. You're supposed to be building your career. And I'm like, I'm building my spiritual path. Thank you very much. That's more important to me than my career. Because for me, actually, it is my career. And then I went for between a year and a half in my 40s. And I was like, and people were like, oh, that's kind of interesting. They weren't quite as negative, but they saw it as being free. But what did I give up? Yeah, I wasn't making payments on a house. There was a lot of things I wasn't doing, but there was a lot of things I was doing. And I was making very conscious, self-aware choices. And then in my 50s, I did it again for another year. And now everybody said, oh, that's fabulous. You're so wonderful. How can you do that? I'm so jealous. And I'm like, boy, I was like such a loser when I did it in my 30s. I was such a, you're being an irresponsible child. In my 40s, it was kind of okay. In my 50s, suddenly I'm a demigod. But we do all make choices. You made a choice to raise 3 kids and become Mama Partridge and go halfway across the country.
I can let me go on that one.
For those of you who didn't see last week's show, Angie's baby has graduated college, has a job in Hawaii.
Hawaii,
I wish it was Hawaii.
Really nice.
Yeah. I'd take him to Hawaii. To Ohio. Same difference, right? They're next door.
Oh, yeah.
So she's going to be taking some time off so she can do, I'm calling it being Mama Partridge. You know, come on, get happy. And she's going to go like this over to Ohio so her son can follow her and he can get set up.
He's just going to miss me a lot. It's just the way he handles it.
That's funny.
So what does freedom mean to
So,
you?
you know, freedom, when you look at the freedom, give thought to what freedom means to you. You know, just as that lyric, just another word for nothing left to lose. And nothing ain't worth nothing if it ain't free. So, you know, we do have to make those choices. And a lot of times in our society, we tend to make the choices of being that middle class who has to have all of those commitments paved in gold. And sometimes if you look at the full picture of what's around you, what's truly paved in gold. So you really, you know, give thought to where you're being, how free are you? Are you free enough to, you know, spend time and go with family? Are you free enough to actually take some time to not be on the road, but actually at the dinner table with your family? You know, because when you're with family, when you're with community, that's true freedom, but that's also not having nothing, because you definitely have something when you have your community, and that's what makes the difference.
Well, and I referred to golden handcuffs before, and the one thing I want people to remember is that 99% of the time, golden handcuffs are just gold-plated. And sooner or later, they wear
They
away.
fall apart, yeah.
And the stuff, I love the line out of Hello, Dolly when she's leaving him and doing this big, big number. You know me in Broadway, big number. And she goes, one of the lines in the song says, snuggle up to your cash register. You know, it may be a little lumpy, but it rings. And she's leaving him because his money is more important than she is. And so you have to really think of that. Now, freedom is also something that is associated, I believe, I may get corrected here, with the planet Uranus. And on that note, we're going to bring in today's guest. How'd you like that segue?
I loved it.
You said there was a lot of Uranus things going on. This is the one and only Dorothy Morgan, New Hampshire astrologer.
Hi, guys.
Welcome back. So
Thank
you got lots of exciting things to talk to us
Let
about.
me clear my throat.
You know,
Thank you.
about where the U.S. is going to be for the next year, because its birthday's coming up, second to mine, of course. Its birthday's coming up.
Yes.
And we are having a presidential year and no presidential-like candidates. We're having oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
Slap my hand.
No, there's no slapping.
Take away all my fun. Anyways, go ahead. What's going on astrologically, and what do we have to look forward to for our nation for the month of July?
So much. There is so much going on. I wrote pages, and I won't read it. If you want to read it, you can come to my website and read it, because it'll be published by the time, it'll be published anytime soon. And we have this year a new moon on the nation's birthday. This is a really wonderful opportunity. Now, the new moon happens, what happens with the new moon? So we're in the sign of Cancer, and that's all about family. You were bringing that up.
Yeah.
The zodiac sign of Cancer is family. It's about caring and nurturing and just, you know, really our security. It's our nation's security. It's our security. So this is, everything that's said is, we can use it and we can see it in the nation, and we can see it in our own personal lives. So this new moon on July 4th is in the nation's, in the sector of the chart, in the nation's chart, in the 8th house of transformation. And things that will come up out of the blue, things that will come up that are being hidden. A lot of hidden things will come up out of this. Now, we have many different ways to use a new moon. We like to set goals with new moons. So a new moon around home and family. But how is this transitioning? Our home is going through a major transition at this point in time because of the elections, because of everything that's been going on. Mm-hmm. We're seeking freedom because the planet Uranus is involved this whole month.
Score.
It is. The planet Uranus is definitely involved in all of this, especially in the middle parts of July, and we can get to that in a little bit. But the planet Uranus is about shaking things up. It's about discovering where we need to be free. And there are so many different things going on, so I don't have to say too many astrological words, but there are so many different things going on that we're feeling that we want a lot of shifting and changing. We need that. We can all feel it and see it. We can see some of the ugly things that have been going on in the previous few weeks and few months, and that is still needing healing. So we can establish these things with this new moon. It's very healthy. It's a very healthy new moon for us. I'm liking it.
Good.
I do want to share that when I brought out my words of wisdom of the day, I had no idea that you were going to tell us your house is about freedom.
Yeah,
That's
it
pretty
is.
neat.
Oh my God. Are you psychic?
I know.
I allow spirit just to guide me, because I've been thinking about what I wanted to present today, and I'm a Gemini, so I kind of have to go with the flow too. But I also have the moon in Capricorn, and what that represents is somebody who is very orderly and very logical, very practical. So for things to kind of just wing it the way you do, I do not. I don't mind winging it, but what I have to do is I have to prepare.
You have to.
I have to prepare. And then, even though I did all this work to prepare for this, I might not use it at all, but it doesn't matter because I've prepared, and then I can wing it.
Well, yeah, and I do that to a certain extent when I teach.
Yeah.
Is I will do pages and copious notes and all this, but doing the notes is my kinesthetic way to get it in my head.
Me too.
And then that kind of fell behind. Now, the other thing having a Capricorn moon means is it means you don't buy the Smoky Quartz. The Smoky Quartz.
Right. That's right.
Don't buy the Smoky Quartz.
That's right, because I'm being very logical and practical. The last weekend, the weekend or so ago, we had an event, and he was selling this humongous piece, gorgeous piece of Smoky Quartz. I don't know, $300. What a deal. I mean, it's a deal.
Is that the
I
same
wanted
one?
it so
Yeah.
bad, but I didn't buy it because it's like, nope, got to pay my rent first.
That's a Capricorn moon.
That's a Capricorn
I'll
moon.
I'll share with you that same episode happened yesterday with another person in our group, and
Yeah.
it was the same deal.
The same piece, the same.
Oh, no kidding. Oh.
That poor Smoky Quartz is going to have abandonment issues all over the place. I'm going to have to put it into therapy. So I'm going to divert the conversation for just a quick second because the new moon is obviously it's going to be in the nation's solar return chart as well as mine. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'm moving in this weekend. Over this whole weekend, I'm moving in with my boyfriend, and we're having a place to live together.
Nice.
So that's a
did
really
that.
nice energy for that as well.
It really is, because when the moon is in Cancer, if you can move on a weekend when the moon is moving through the sign of Cancer, you're really creating a home. I tried for that when I had to move, the last time I moved, and the universe just pushed me really fast, and it put a moon in Leo. So it's like, well, all right, I'll always be working. I'll always be active in my home. It won't be like,
Yeah, well, and his moon's in Cancer.
oh, there you go.
Well,
Even
My
nice.
son, his moon.
And the sun and
Gonna lose me earlier. I have to move him now. This coming.
You don't have to, but it's a temporary home where your boy's going, right? Because he's
of.
just going to college, so it's
No, he's out of college. His
he's
first
out of
real
college.
job.
Oh, all right. So that
It's
will
his
work.
first big move.
Good, good, excellent. So the nation's solar return is pretty interesting. So let me pull that up. I just closed this, and so the solar return. What the solar return means is we all have a birthday, and at the day, time, and place that we're born, the sun is at a certain degree in a certain zodiac sign. Everybody knows what their sign is. And what the solar return is, solar meaning sun, is when us astrologers return the sun this year, whatever year, this year, to that same number. And everything else, where everything else is in the solar system, is at this point in time, populates the chart, and it creates a new chart. The only thing that it has in common is the sun is in the same number, not even in the same place. All right, and so it creates a theme for the year. It's a storyline that goes on right here, And then, other things happen and come in and happen, but this is your storyline for the year. And so it holds some weight throughout the year, but transits and outside influences from the other planets and things as they move through the year make a difference too. So it's rather complicated, simple and complicated at the same time. So it gives us a little bit of a theme for the year. And so the solar return for the United States chart has this new moon, because it's just a few minutes after the new moon. It's in the 8th house as well. So we're having this double hit of new moon in the 8th house, and what again that represents is transformation. 8th house energy is also has a lot to do with finances, and even though the 4th, we're looking at what happened with Britain leaving the EU and stocks, and we're not sure how that's going to affect us. This is showing us that there is some repercussions here. This is something going on here that will help us. Well, it will help us to focus in on what's really important. It should help us to do that. And this is where Americans will be voting for what makes them feel secure, because this is an important chart for the whole year for the United States and the world. We have quite an influence in the world, so.
Now, we have the 8th house for those, that are not astrology bugs. As she talked about, was the house of transformation, death, rebirth. It's also associated with the sign of Scorpio.
Correct.
Now, interestingly, because of this energy in the 8th house, we vote for the president in the time of Scorpio. So is that going to intensify? In astrology, a lot of times it's like something gives you a hit, but then something else makes that hit a little stronger or a little weaker. And it seems to me like this may be making it a little stronger to have all of the Scorpio housed energy in our birth, in our solar chart, and a presidential election. Talk to us about that.
This is correct, because we also have Mars in the sign of Scorpio. And on this day, on the 4th, it is still at this one single degree, because it has been retrograde for 73 days. And then on June 29th, it went direct. And when it goes direct, it's still sitting still. So Mars in Scorpio is the ruler of that sector too. So it's making an aspect to this as well. So it is actually amplifying the effects that you just said. So you did give that as a good example that something is intense and something's happening. And we've been feeling this all of June. And we will feel the intensity of this Scorpio energy all of June, all of July. Because it is, what it's doing is it's bringing up things within us that are very deep for transformation. So we can feel, as you quoted, freedom. Because Uranus is part of this energy too. It's making a very hard aspect to Mars. And so while it's doing that, it is creating the tensions that we're feeling, the tensions of the stresses when people are peaking in their emotions because they don't know what to do with it.
With these aspects you're putting together, and again, I sometimes will talk about astrology being like those old-fashioned transparencies that you'd put on the overhead screen. And so here's the first layer, here's the houses, here's the second layer, there's the second and these transparencies build up and build up.
They do.
Talking about hard aspect to Mars, talking about Mars in Scorpio, talking about all of this energy that's coming up because of the solar return, all of the things becoming obvious. I would think that we could be looking around the presidential election that we might have some real violence.
Yeah. But we do have some, let's lighten it up. We do have some, I'm an optimist, always. I don't stick my head in the sand, but I'm also, it's like, okay, so what's the bright side of this? We're already seeing an awful lot of violence. So it is already showing its ugly head. And these are things that we need to heal as a nation. And we also need, and depending on how it resonates with you, is something that you need to heal within yourself. If it's something that resonates with you, find the correct healing, the correct modality for yourself. We have this, it's called a mystic rectangle, and it's a rectangle shape in the astrology chart. But we have a lot of mutable energy, and that mutable energy means that it's flowing, it's changeable. It's like what we were talking about in the beginning of the show. It's like, yeah, we're just going to kind of do this and do that. So while on one hand we have aspects and transits and all of these astrological things happening that seem like there's a lot of tension and stress, we also have the ability to identify it and then just move through it. These are easy lessons. We can have these as easy lessons, or we can make them hard. But it depends on our perspective. That's the most important thing.
What type of communication do they need in order for that to, start to move to that influence? Is there any communication in that, like as far as the astrological points?
Mercury in Cancer, excuse me, Mercury in Cancer is from the heart, so it's heartfelt communication.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
So as we're looking at this, people's frustration is going to be coming up, and they're going to look for a place to aim it.
Yeah.
It will be better managed if there is heartfelt communication.
Yes.
We are talking about U.S. media, who runs the circus show with more monkeys than is in all of Africa put together, doing anything and everything to light fires, to make situations more newsworthy.
Yeah.
How much loving communication do you think is going to come from the U.S. media during the presidential elections?
None. We just need to do it ourselves. We are responsible for our own actions. We are responsible for our own emotions. We need to manage this in our own personal way. Straight across the chart from all of this new moon is, of course, Pluto. Pluto is also a ruler of Scorpio. So this is a period of intense transformation. And as well, here's another aspect. Saturn's on the ascendant of the solar return chart for the U.S. What that means is Saturn is our structure and our foundation. It is where we don't buy the crystal because we have something important to do, all right? It's that business sense, right? And so with Saturn on the ascendant, and it is retrograde at this point, the solar return for the year, so U.S. chart from July 4th to July 4th, means that we will be seeking our foundation. We have always, this is like an American Constitution and how people are always challenging it, or we need to make amendments, and we need all of these different things. This is what it says. So there is going to be a lot of power plays, and a lot of people really challenging what the foundation of our country is and how we run things, even the way our election's going.
I think that's fabulous news.
We're in for a load of it, but
yeah, but people
need
it's
this
a time
change.
that we need to have all of that going on because we do need the change. It's time for the change.
It is. We are in. Everybody thinks, every generation thinks they're living in miraculous times, and you know what? They are. Everybody lives in miraculous times because no matter what, what our parents went through and what our grandparents and whatever, everybody's in amazing times, and this is no different. We can handle it. We're here.
Well, do you remember the ancient Chinese curse?
Oh.
May you live in interesting times.
Yes. May you have an uneventful life. How's that? Excuse me.
So,
yeah.
Okay, this is something I'm going to throw because I'm looking at that whole aspect, and I'm also looking at the fact of all that's just gone on. And I'm also looking at some of the rumors of people talking about Texas trying to leave the nation.
Secede
How does
from
that kind of stuff?
Oh, that's funny.
I
would have to look at Texas's chart.
Oh, you would? Okay,
Yeah.
so that would have to be a
Yeah.
piece of that.
We
on
would do.
its
You
own.
could do it individually.
Can we do anything to encourage Texas to succeed?
think the government wants their tax money, so they probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but just look at some of the people that take with them. Oh, sorry.
Oh, there he goes again.
Eighth house is taxes too.
Death and taxes.
Death, sex, taxes. Outside resources.
Is that
Oh.
death, sex, taxes? And
That's
that-
like a Janis Joplin song.
Oh, well, I was
Yeah.
just thinking that's my life. So now some people hear the term, and I'm bringing it up because you're doing the solar return. There's also something called the progressed chart. Did you by any chance look at that?
No.
Okay. So, but would you explain the difference? Because some people out there that start to play around the edges they hear solar and then they hear progressed and they think it's the same thing. So just to clear that
Not
up for
even
a second.
close. Yeah, and some people have never even heard of it. The progressed chart, what we do with the progressed chart is you move the chart ahead 1 day per year. And of course the software does it for us now, so it's simple. You just have to put the date in. The math is so much easier now. There isn't any.
Yeah, I know. That's why I stopped doing astrology.
Yeah, but what happens with that is mostly the inner planets only, especially in a human lifetime. We're actually at, as far as progressions go, in the mind, that's something else. Got distracted, Gemini.
Imagine that.
Basically, in human life, I mean, we only live so many years. So if we move the chart ahead 1 day per year, I mean, 90, that's only 3 months from the time you were born, if you look at it that way. So we only can look at the inner planets, and that is Mars in. Those are the only ones that will move far enough for us to feel a difference. And how I see the progress chart, and I use it in all my sessions, is for understanding the soul's journey, what the soul is ready to understand at this point in time. You can see it creates trigger points. So you can see all of a sudden if somebody's moon progresses to something, you can see how what they're learning emotionally for the next 2.5 years. So there's certain cycles that the progressions go through, and it matches other things too. But it is a game. It's all like a big puzzle. So progressions are very important. It follows a Saturn cycle as well. So it's a level of maturity. Again, what am I ready for? We're only ready for what we're ready for. And you can see it in the progress chart.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
And I'm trying to quickly do the math in my head, and I'm not going to, but somewhere our progressed sun must be in Aquarius or Pisces around that time period, because we're at 240 years.
Right.
So that's 240 degrees.
It is. And so I could do that right now because I actually have the chart right in front of me. But I also have to remind us that it takes Pluto about 240 years to go around. So we're having a Pluto return.
Yeah.
We're having a Pluto return, which it's just returning to where it was, like we do the solar return. So I had to tell you guys, this is just intense. Everything about this chart, even though the chart ruler of this is Jupiter, because Sag is on the horizon, everything else about this, and that is our saving grace. It really is. Jupiter is like your rich uncle. He just gives you whatever you want. Doesn't matter. He doesn't care if he spoils you or not. Doesn't matter. Even if you take too much, that's all right. We're lucky we have that. We're lucky we have that. Because the Scorpio, all the other Scorpio stuff is creating a lot of changes, but they will be for our benefit.
Yeah, well, I think that, because I was going to hop to that Pluto thing next.
Oh, you heard about it, huh? Did you? Yeah.
Well, just because but if you think about it, and again, people think about layers and, with every time that something hits and matches or supports it, it increases its intensity. With something called a Pluto return and Pluto ruling the chart, it means this country is in the process of going through a huge death rebirth process.
Absolutely.
And it is going to have to survive. And I don't know whether this year or next year is the key year, but I suspect astrologically it's probably this year.
Yeah, it's just, I noticed something. It's just like, hold on. I love this stuff. Oh my God, I love this so much. This is my life. I love it. All right, so I'm going to say the astrological stuff and don't glaze over, and then I'll tell you what it means. The progressed sun is at 11 degrees of Pisces for this nation. Neptune, transiting Neptune, where it is today, is at 11 degrees of Pisces. The wool has been and is being pulled over our eyes like no tomorrow. We are blinded right now because Neptune, in its own sign of Pisces, is just a thick fog. We cannot see the truth. And we're all wondering when the truth will come out. There's just a few things that have to leak. WikiLeaks has a whole bunch of stuff that needs to come out. They've been threatening to put some stuff out on our Democratic candidate. Wonder when that's going to happen. Could probably time it, but I didn't look yet for that. This is, so that wool's being pulled over our eyes. The sun will separate before Neptune does, so it will take a year or so. But in the meantime, we can also take this energy of the sun and Neptune conjunct, and this is a spiritual revolution because Uranus is involved. Uranus is always involved in a lot of these things. It's in the sign of Aries. Uranus is in Aries. The last time we had Pluto in Capricorn and Uranus in Aries was the American Revolution. So, and we've been waiting for this revolution to become, and it is. It just doesn't look like it did then because we have a few more people here, and the situations are different. But how can we not see that we're in the middle of a revolution? We're in the middle of this.
Yeah.
People are breaking free and needing that freedom. So a spiritual revolution, this is what we can do, because the Uranus stuff, and now that I see, even with all my notes here, even with the progressed sun and Neptune creating, the situation is creating all the Scorpio stuff that it's creating. It's like being the ultimate shaman, we need to die before we can be born again. And this is exactly where we're at, and it is a big spiritual path. So spreading what we know, spreading that heart-centeredness, spreading love, that is how we work through this. Love does it all, conquers it all.
Well, it comes back to me, interestingly enough, because one of the big haulers at the American Revolution was no taxation without representation. And with the amount of lobby money, PAC money, with our government being bought and paid for, we are right back to the fact that we are being taxed, and we are not being represented in Washington.
No.
Special interest groups are being represented in Washington, corporations, PACs, lobbyists. Washington does not function for the regular people. We are right back to where we were in the revolution. We are being taxed, but we are not being represented in government, because no matter what we think of our vote, it's, it was a straight up, everybody who voted against the last 3-day waiting period gun amendment, every one of them had taken money from the gun lobby.
So awful.
So were they really representing their people?
No.
Do their people really even, do they even really care what their people think until it's that little key thing, and then they get tons of money to muddy the water, create confusion, that Neptune confusion, that illusion.
Yep.
And you better stick with me because I'm known, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to make you feel good about getting screwed over for one more political term.
I know.
Once again, we walk on that fear.
Yeah, yep, fear.
Fear conquers.
I know.
Fear conquers.
It
Now,
does.
you looked at some stuff for the conventions. What did you
did.
find?
Okay, I'm going to close this. I did. I want to say too, the week of July 4th to July 10th, let me just get this out too, because I don't know how much time we have left. We have Venus and Mars in a beautiful trine, and that's really fun and sexy. It's fun and sexy. It's Leo, so this is the way we're going to start July. So even though I've given you some heavy-duty things that we think about, we also have the faster planets, the personal planets, which, Venus and Mars are. And that's the masculine and the feminine. And it is just, they're in an excellent connection to each other, fun, You know, Venus will be in Leo at that point. Mercury moves into Leo this month. So we have a lot of Leo energy. So while there's tons of seriousness going on, we can go out and play. Please, play,
Play.
have fun, enjoy life.
Will this be the summer of love again? They're saying because of the moon, solstice thing,
Yeah.
that this is the summer of love.
It can be, absolutely. So what I did was I looked at the beginning, I don't know exactly what time of day, but the beginning of the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention. And since they're both in July and, you know, they're real similar in time, the Republican one is going early. And I went and I read up on it. And the reason they're going really early this year, they're on July 18th, is because they want their candidate to have as much money as possible. And that's exactly what it says, so they can just produce as much money to really push them. And so the best we can do on something like this is to look at what the moon's doing. So you know enough astrology, so I'll bounce this back. We'll bounce this back and forth. The moon for the Republican convention is in Capricorn. That is so Republican, if ever there was one. Holy cow! Republican and Capricorn they're just like they're ultra religious. Lots of times, very strict. I mean, this is the harder part of it. Not to offend any Capricorns, because I got a Capricorn moon, but logical, practical. I've said this many times already today. It's just really, it's right.
You're not getting your Smoky Quartz.
Yeah, I know. I'll take it as a gift, though. Anytime.
We'll give you the email address to send the donations.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
It's conjunct Pluto. The moon conjuncts Pluto for the National Convention for the Republicans. They are about power and control. They are going to try it, and all of this is opposite. There's an aspect too with Juno, and Juno represents marriage, and it is connecting to that. Some other aspects on that day are connecting to that too. I have a feeling that's going to be a number of people, especially if the Republicans get in, they're going to try and change their marriage laws again. You know, how each individual state has decided whether gay marriage is legal or not. And they're still working on this. This will be a theme for the year. This will be a theme for the year. And
if the Republicans get in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, also, that Pluto-Moon conjunction, can it also mean that there's going to be a crash, burn, and re-rise of the Republican Party? Because there's death and rebirth there.
Pluto is retrograde.
Yeah, I think that they may go back to their roots, which, you know, of course, Abraham Lincoln was a very different Republican than Ronald Reagan was.
I know. It would be so nice to have somebody like him again.
I'm assuming you're thinking Abraham Lincoln.
Yes. No, Ronald. Anyways, we won't get into personal experiences.
Moving right along.
Yeah. No, I had a business fail in that period in time. But, you know, life is life. Learning experiences. So with that, you know, that's intensity. There's a lot of intensity there between, you know, it's like this power hungry. I feel like it feels to me that they got Leo on the ascendant. If they start at 9 in the morning, I don't know what time they're starting, so I couldn't locate that piece. But I don't know. I feel that they're just going to be making a lot of hype, but there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, you know, I don't know what they're going to do with this. I find this is about power and control, and very much intense. When the moon and Pluto are connected in any situation, there is a level of intensity. But with the Capricorn, you know, it kind of grounds it a little bit, but it certainly doesn't allow it to feel.
Yeah. So when you're talking power and control, though, and it's at the convention for the Republicans, could that possibly reflect on who would be like the vice presidential candidate that would run and things of that nature that might be?
Well, there's still rumors that they're trying to see if they can get around nominating Trump.
I know.
And that's why I'm wondering if there's a
just feels
crash
like a
and
big
burn
power.
aspect of they're going to pull something out.
A big power play. It feels like a big power play of some
Huge.
kind, but I can't identify. I only pulled this up, just before I came here today. Because I'm like, hey, when are those? It's something, my guides, they say, do this. And I was like, okay, I've learned to listen. And so I pulled this up and I knew it was interesting. And yeah, so there's some kind of big power play going on. It's mysterious to me. I don't know how to judge this. It feels.
Yeah. So if we turn the page over and now we're looking at the Democratic convention.
Democratic
it's the big-
convention is later.
Now, I'm going to throw one other thing in. There is something dictatorial about that energy.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So there, if whoever comes out of the Republican convention, and by rights it should be Trump.
And if it isn't, then that is the proof of what we were already talking about and how our democracy isn't working.
It's
Right.
failed.
He must be the Republican candidate.
And if they pull a fast, shady deal,
Then this is the upheaval. We will see that the potential for that is in the charts of everything we've already discussed.
yes. But whoever comes out of that, if they step into the presidential office, is going to try to run it like a dictatorship. Absolutely.
Yeah, very
With
strong.
that kind of energy, that's giving birth to that presidential candidate, which would be the overview of the presidency.
Our Senate and our Congress.
It's the birth of the child. So good. I'm sorry. I just wanted to point that out.
No, but that's a
before we
really
get
good
into-
point. I'm glad you brought it up because I agree with you because I think if he isn't the candidate, whether you like him or not is irrelevant. If he isn't the candidate, then our system has failed, and we need to do
But
something.
our system is,
Well,
Yeah.
our system has already failed.
well, it's still serving us in some ways. It's still living. It's still doing its thing. Anyways, onwards to the Democratic convention. They start July 25th, and Moon in Aries conjunct Uranus in Aries. These are just like major hits. The moon in Aries is selfish, I, in its worst sense. In other ways, it's about, it initiates action, it initiates freedom, and it is conjunct Uranus. So we have this level of independence and freedom with the Democratic Party. That one's okay.
Yeah. Well, the one thing,
But,
go ahead, but.
oh no, you were going to say
Well,
something.
but it's
Yeah.
like the Democratic Party has actually already brought to us the fact that we're not working properly. Media is overriding what the people want. That freedom of vote is being overridden before we even start into the regular campaign. So, it's like what goes on with that convention.
I can't stand watching it because it's just everybody just talking and just talking about stuff. Well, they just, what they care is, they're boring. It's boring to me. I've never really been
Yeah.
into politics, but I understand it has to happen. They have to get excited about their stuff.
Well, it's like going to a Mary Kay convention.
Yeah. I'm not interested in that either.
There's a whole lot of makeup going on.
Take me to a medieval Viking event. I'll be there. That I can go into.
But interestingly, because astrology sets the stage, but free will choice decides what the actors are going to do on it.
That's correct.
And the looking at the birth child that would be born, a Cancer with a Capricorn moon Pluto conjunction versus a Leo with what rising?
Virgo.
With the Virgo rising. Well, there's some practicality. There's practical service there.
It is. Service to others, health care, our
Yep.
food. If with the Democratic convention like this, this is a focus on our food sources. You know how many people we want food that needs to change, the GMOs, blah, blah, blah. Not the whole subject, but with Virgo rising, Virgo has an attention, and Jupiter in the first house of the Democratic Convention too, that is something that they would focus on. But I don't want to get into hearsay, but I don't know.
But
Oh, I don't know. I hear Hillary is quite on board with the companies that sponsor the GMO stuff. So lots of donations here and there. So,
Yeah,
so
that's quite the conflict.
I've had, you know, and I'm
only
going to
heard
go
of
out
it.
on a limb. I'm going to go out on a limb here.
yeah.
Like I've never been on a limb before.
No, make it a sturdy one. Make it a sturdy one, Kevin.
What'd you say?
Make it a sturdy one, Kevin.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. In this, I have just had the feeling for a while that if Hillary gets elected, she's going to go for legacy. She's going to go for legacy. And so
What do you mean by that?
that she is going to do things that are going to surprise people that gave her donations, because she's going to be more about wanting to, she doesn't need any more money. She may not even go for a second term at her age. She may go in and say, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to blow out and change things, which would be a very Moon and Aries energy.
It would.
And a Leo, with that Leo sun and that for Jupiter, I don't know that she. I think that the people that have donated to her campaign think she's bought and paid for. I'm not sure that she is.
I have never heard anyone say that, and I really like your idea. I would like that to be the truth, because even the moon in this chart for the Democrat, it makes a beautiful trine aspect to that Venus and Mercury in Leo. That's an easy aspect, so that means that, you know, what we value and how we present that to the world and how we're communicating to the world and all of that Leo energy. So that's a really easy aspect. The Republican one is a really hard aspect called a quincunx, which is about transformation creates adjustments and adjustments create transformation, which is hard to handle sometimes. Change is hard, but I like the Democratic one better, in my opinion.
You know, and so the thought has occurred to me on numerous occasions when I've been quiet or stuff like this, because there's a lot of things that Bernie Sanders said that had a lot of value, and I think Hillary heard them.
Yes.
I think she saw the response of the people.
Yeah.
And if there was going to be somebody who was kick butt, deciding to change the system through infiltrating it, she has some history kudos for doing that in the past. She tried to, as First Lady, bring in a version of Obamacare.
She did. That's
And
where it started.
got
And
knocked
yeah.
down for it.
Yeah, but then they took what she started, and then Bush took the rest. And now that Obama got it run through, they call it Obamacare, but it was mostly from those two.
Well, actually,
Yes.
it started in Massachusetts.
Did it?
Yeah, but
Everybody's calling it Obamacare, but it actually
Yeah.
started in Massachusetts.
But Hillary tried to do a lot of good things as a First Lady
Yeah.
when she had the secondary power. And so, I don't know. I would not be surprised if she ended up as president if she upset a lot of apple carts. And
Yeah.
I think that she's had to swallow a lot of bitter pills because she's a woman. There's been a lot of times where she's had to play the game 10 times better than a guy to get forward.
Yeah.
And I think once she has that power, she may decide she doesn't have to play certain games anymore.
Oh, good for her. That's true. Oh, I hope so. That's nice.
But also that takes precedent. My feeling on our take of this is the Senate is what really matters. That's where the revolution needs to be, not with the presidential, but with the Senate.
Yeah.
We have to change those.
Yeah. I agree.
If we don't change that, we don't do anything for the president.
We have to change lobbying laws. We have to change term limits. I
Yeah.
mean, all of that has to change. I did a YouTube video about 3 years ago on the 4th of July as my birthday gift to my followers about 10 things we needed to do to take back this country.
Oh, yeah?
You know, and I put it
Yeah.
out there, and I like, you know, the first one's like transparency laws. You can't have anything to the law but the single law itself. You cannot add anything to it. It has to be just that law, only that law.
Wow.
Term limits. Lobbying dollars have to go away. There has to be money set aside, and anybody who qualifies as a candidate to be president, and I'm a big believer we should have 5 parties, but anybody who qualifies gets that amount of money to spend, and they can't spend it on anything else, and that there are no commercials at all for national political office. They are banned. You don't have commercials, you have debates, and the debates are underwritten as part of the media cost for doing business in the United States.
Nice. I like that.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the debates are all fair. Nobody gets any, but I went through this like, here's the list we need to do if we want to take back our country and have representation for our taxation, because God knows we have enough taxation.
Yep.
And so we should be getting represented for our dollars. Any last thoughts? Because we are going to be going into wrap up. We're almost out of time. What else can people expect in July? A quickie. We didn't give you that a whole lot of time.
But that's okay. That's okay. Moving in a new direction. So we do have that. I made that note. That is in the week July 18th to the 24th during the convention. But we have an opportunity with the moon doing the things that it's doing to really tap into what we feel emotional and how we can move into a new direction. And that is the sense of freedom that we're looking for. But it's Leo time of year, so have fun. Just play. Get outside, especially those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. It's summer. I want to play now. I'm ready for vacation. It doesn't start till the end of July, and I'm like, I'm ready to go now.
Summertime.
I know, it's summertime. That's
Summer
it. I'll
love.
leave you with
Simple.
that.
Closing thoughts, Miss Angie.
I'm actually, it's just like Dorothy had mentioned, it's the time to play. It's time to get that energy going, enjoy that peace. The world is going to work its way through what it needs to work through. It's done it before. I'm sure that astrology has gone around and around in a circle through the years.
Yes.
It's going to do it again. So don't look at it in fear. Look at it in progressiveness. Be progressive. Have fun. Enjoy. Open up to new boundaries. Don't be intimidated with fear.
And I'm going to invite our listeners. I want to invite our listeners to think. I know it's old-fashioned. I know it's out of style. I know it's really not highly encouraged, anywhere from your local public school room up to the Supreme Court. Critical thinking skills are not really supported well these days, but you do have them, and you were born with them. Know that if you want to do a BS meter, that the BS meter for everything that you get on the internet and from your corporately owned media stations is very high on the BS meter. On a scale of 1 to 10, it probably hits 15. Believe very little of what's being reported to you as the facts, because they're different depending on which channel you turn and who is owning that current reporter's station or who owns your current politician. Look for truth, look for facts, know that they're facts, and think them through and see if they're logical to you. See if they actually make sense. Get beyond your bigotry, get beyond your apathy, get beyond your laziness. Step up and be a true American. Take back your country through having some good critical thinking, taking some good positive actions, and being focused on solutions, not blame. Have a happy 4th of July week. Enjoy celebrating my birthday. At the bottom, you can see in the email where to send me gifts. So, all are welcome. And remember, we are raising money for Dorothy's Smoky Quartz.
Smoky Quartz.
Namaste.